in between facts and norms. Contributions to a discourse theory of law and democracy. Habermas presents a comprehensive analysis of the relationship between law, democracy, and rational discourse within modern constitutional democracies. His aim is to develop a theory that reconciles the tension between factual, institutionalized legal systems and the normative ideals of democratic legitimacy and public autonomy. The book is a continuation of Habermas' discourse ethics, extending it into the realm of law and democracy, and it offers a robust framework for understanding how democratic institutions can maintain legitimacy in complex pluralistic societies. At the heart of Habermas' argument is the idea that law and democracy are mutually dependent. Law provides the framework within which democratic processes occur, while democracy ensures that laws remain legitimate. By being grounded in the will of the people, this relationship forms the basis of what Habermas calls the co-originality of public autonomy and private autonomy, which means that individual freedoms, private autonomy, and collective self-determination, public autonomy, must coexist and support each other in a democratic society. For Habermas, the legitimacy of law derives from its ability to reflect the collective will of free and equal citizens, expressed through rational, inclusive discourse. Habermas distinguishes between two key dimensions of law: its facticity and its validity. Facticity refers to the law's role as a set of binding norms that regulate social behavior and are enforced by institutions, such as courts and police. Validity, on the other hand, refers to the moral and democratic legitimacy of these laws, the extent to which they are justifiable to those who must obey them. Habermas argues that for law to be legitimate, it must not only be factually effective, i.e., enforceable, but also normatively justifiable through processes of public deliberation. The discourse theory of law that Habermas develops seeks to address this dual nature of law by grounding it in democratic procedures. He asserts that legitimate laws are those that have been generated through a process of rational discourse, in which all affected individuals can participate freely and equally. In this way, the legal system must be transparent and open to critique, allowing for public debate on the content and application of laws. This process ensures that the legal system remains responsive to the changing values and needs of society, while maintaining its normative validity. An essential component of Habermas' discourse theory is his concept of deliberative democracy, which emphasizes the role of public discussion and argumentation in the democratic process, in contrast to purely procedural or aggregative models of democracy, where decisions are made through voting or negotiation, without much emphasis on reasoning. Deliberative democracy focuses on the quality of the discourse that precedes decision-making. In this model, citizens do not simply express their preferences. They engage in reasoned debate, providing justifications for their positions and considering the viewpoints of others. Through this process of deliberation, democratic decisions acquire legitimacy because they are the result of a reasoned, inclusive, and egalitarian process of public reasoning. The deliberative model also helps address the issue of pluralism in modern democracies. Habermas recognizes that individuals in contemporary societies often hold diverse and sometimes conflicting values, making consensus difficult to achieve. However, he argues that through rational discourse, citizens can work toward mutually acceptable solutions, even if they do not always reach full consensus. The goal is not to eliminate differences, but to create a process where these differences can be negotiated fairly and where outcomes are justifiable to all participants, even those who may disagree with the final decision. Habermas also addresses the role of constitutional law in a deliberative democracy. He argues that constitutions play a crucial role in establishing the legal framework for democratic discourse, setting out the basic rights and procedures that ensure the equality and freedom of all participants in the democratic process. These constitutional norms, however, must not be viewed as fixed or immutable. Instead, they should be open to revision and reinterpretation in light of changing circumstances and values. For Habermas, constitutional law is both a stabilizing force in the democratic process and a dynamic, evolving body of norms that reflect the ongoing project of democratic self-determination. One of the major challenges Habermas addresses in Between Facts and Norms is the tension between law's coercive power and its democratic legitimacy. The fact that laws must be enforced through coercive institutions, such as the judiciary and police, raises concerns about how these institutions can maintain their legitimacy, especially in cases where citizens do not agree with the laws being enforced. Habermas argues that this tension can be resolved by ensuring that legal institutions are subject to democratic control and public deliberation. Judicial decisions, for example, should be grounded in rational argumentation and be open to critique by the public, ensuring that they remain connected to the democratic will of the people. In exploring the institutional dimension of law, Habermas highlights the importance of the separation of powers, particularly the role of the judiciary, in a constitutional democracy. He emphasizes the need for an independent judiciary that can interpret and apply laws impartially, while also being responsive to the evolving norms and values of society. Judges, in Habermas' view, play a critical role in mediating between abstract legal norms and the concrete circumstances of specific cases, applying general principles in ways that are consistent with democratic values. Moreover, Habermas' theory pays particular attention to the concept of public spheres, which are spaces where citizens can engage in discourse about political and legal issues. These public spheres are essential for democratic legitimacy, as they provide the forums where public opinion is formed and where citizens can influence the decision-making process. Habermas argues that the health of a democracy depends on the strength and inclusivity of its public spheres, which must remain open to all citizens and allow for the free exchange of ideas. In this context, the media and civil society play crucial roles in facilitating public discourse. Although Habermas is also aware of the potential for these institutions to be co-opted by special interests or distorted by unequal power relations, critics of Habermas' theory have pointed out potential difficulties in achieving the ideal conditions of discourse that his model requires. In practice, real-world deliberation is often influenced by power imbalances, social inequalities, and other barriers that prevent full and equal participation. Habermas acknowledges these challenges and argues that democratic institutions must work to minimize these distortions, creating conditions where discourse can be as inclusive and fair as possible. He advocates for institutional reforms that can help level the playing field, such as ensuring access to education, promoting media pluralism, and creating mechanisms for marginalized voices to be heard. Another critique of Habermas' approach is that it places too much emphasis on rational argumentation, potentially overlooking the role of emotions, identity, and other non-rational factors in political decision-making. While Habermas focuses on rational discourse as the foundation of democratic legitimacy, he recognizes that emotions and values are an integral part of human life and should be considered in the deliberative process. However, he insists that these elements must be subject to rational critique and justification if they are to be incorporated into democratic decision-making. Despite these challenges, Between Facts and Norms offers a compelling vision of how law and democracy can function together in a way that is both normatively valid and practically effective. Habermas' emphasis on the role of rational discourse in legitimizing legal and political institutions provides a valuable framework for understanding the complexities of modern constitutional democracies. His theory of deliberative democracy offers a path for reconciling the demands of pluralism, equality, and public autonomy, while his discourse theory of law provides a robust account of how legal systems can maintain their legitimacy in a rapidly changing world. Through his work, Habermas contributes to the ongoing project of democratic self-governance, showing how law and democracy can remain responsive to the needs and values of citizens, while maintaining their normative integrity. In a time of increasing political polarization and challenges to democratic institutions, Between Facts and Norms remains an important and relevant text, offering insights into how democratic societies can navigate the tensions between facts and norms, between institutional power and democratic legitimacy.